Northwestern was one of the biggest surprise teams in 2023. How about in 2024? We're going to go game by game, give you predictions for the Wildcats. First, just some thoughts on this team. So yeah, David Braun takes over last season, and really they did not have any expectations coming off of a terrible season. Fitzgerald gone, and it just did not seem like Northwestern was going to be competitive, and they surprised us all. So hats off to the coaching staff there, what they were able to do. You look at the roster for 2024, and I don't think there's going to be a drop-off. I think they're going to be very similar to how they were last year, and they're not going to be the most talented team in the Big Ten, but obviously they showed last year that they're well-coached. You wonder about the quarterback position with Brendan Sullivan transferring out. I really don't know. I haven't really looked into why he left. It didn't make a ton of sense to me. I expected him to be the starter. But they bring in Mike Wright, dual threat quarterback who has some experience in the SEC. So that's going to be interesting. You still got Ryan Helinski there and some other young guys. So quarterback position, they're options, so I'm not too concerned. Cam Porter back at running back. That group will be pretty good. Receivers will be solid. Really across the board, you look at this team, they're going to be solid everywhere. If I had a concern, it's probably the cornerback position. So if they go up against a really good passing team, I think that could give them some trouble. But again, overall, they are a very solid team and should be competitive in the Big Ten. All right, so let's get to the schedule here. Vegas has the over-under win total at 5.5. I think that's actually fair. You look at some tough games. Washington, you got Maryland on the road. You got Wisconsin, Iowa, Ohio State, Michigan. 6-6, I think, is probably a successful season for them. So yeah, I think that that 5.5 number is pretty fair. Again, I don't think they're going to be bad. I think they're going to be competitive, but it's a pretty tough schedule, and there are a lot of good teams in the Big Ten. So even if they're as good as they were last year, when you bring in the new teams and you get rid of the divisions, this is a middle of the pack team in the Big Ten. They start with Miami of Ohio, a sneaky good MAC team. You don't want to overlook them, and I think this is probably a very close game. I do think Northwestern will have enough to get the win playing at home. Of course, they're playing in a makeshift stadium this season as they build their new stadium. That's going to be a different environment watching these Northwestern games. But yeah, they get Miami of Ohio there. I think they'll win that game. Then they're going to play Duke on Friday night of week 2, September 6th. Duke, they I think will be okay on defense, but Malik Murphy comes in there at quarterback. They have some pieces, but I just don't think they're going to be anything like what they were the last couple of seasons. I think Northwestern's the better team, and I think they get the win there and also beat Eastern Illinois. So a 3-0 start. Then they'll play Washington on the road on September 21st. This is going to be a solid Washington team. They're not going to be a real contender in the Big Ten or anything like that, but they'll be solid, and that's a pretty tough place to play. I think these teams are actually pretty even, but I do give Washington a slight nod. Both teams are solid really across the board. I think the athletes for Washington a little bit better than those at Northwestern. The offensive line could struggle for Washington, so that's an area where Northwestern, can they take advantage of that? But the cornerbacks for Northwestern, can they slow down what could be a pretty good, a decent passing game for Washington? So yeah, I think this is a game where home field advantage really probably will make the difference, and I'm going Washington. So Northwestern loses their first game. Then they play Indiana the next week, October 5th at home. I've been saying this for a while. I think Indiana is a sneaky team in the Big Ten. Now, I don't think they're going to finish near the top, maybe not even in the top half, but I think they're going to be better than what people expect. I love the new coach, love the players they've brought into the transfer portal. Curtis Rourke at quarterback. They're going to have a good passing game. I think that's a weakness for Northwestern. I think they make some big plays in this one, and I'm actually going Indiana here to get the upset over Northwestern. So that drops them to 3-2. They play Maryland the next week on the road. Maryland, they've got some good receivers, but you wonder about the quarterback position. I think there's going to be a drop-off there from Talia Tagovailoa, but I still think this is an offense that's going to be pretty good. A good run game. Defense maybe struggles a little bit. I just think Northwestern's a little bit better team here, and I think even on the road, they're able to go in there, pull off the upset, get a big win over Maryland in a close one. So, I think Indiana-Maryland, you could flip those games potentially. And normally, again, you're going to go with the home teams to win those games. But I'm going opposite. I just kind of have this feeling they're going to upset Maryland but lose to Indiana. They'll play Wisconsin next at home. I just think this Wisconsin team's a little bit above Northwestern, just overall talent. You look at Tyler Van Dyke, and we really don't know what we're going to get from him. But I think they've got enough weapons where they're going to challenge these Northwestern cornerbacks. They'll be balanced on offense. And again, they're just a better team. I like Wisconsin, but pretty close game. The next week they play Iowa on October 26th. Expect a low-scoring game here. Iowa's not a team that's going to take advantage of maybe a question mark at cornerback for Northwestern, because we just haven't seen much of a passing game from Iowa for quite some time now. But their defense is going to be so good. That's a very tough place to play. Northwestern might not score in this game. I feel like it's one of those, a 17-3 type game, something like that. But yeah, Iowa, because of their defense playing at home, they should win this one. Purdue is next on November 2nd on the road. Purdue, I don't think is going to be great this year. I think their defense is going to slowly make some improvements. But yeah, I don't think they're going to be quite ready to make a big jump this year. They might be a little better than last season, but I think Northwestern's still above them. And even on the road, I like Northwestern to get the win over Purdue. Ohio State's next. This is going to be a very tough matchup. It's just not going to be close at all. Northwestern should probably get blown out here in this one. It's crazy how we're talking about every game up to this point should be fairly competitive. Again, Wisconsin, Iowa, maybe they lose those games by a couple of touchdowns. But yeah, every game should be fairly competitive. Then you get to this Ohio State game, they could lose by 40. And I really mean that, because Ohio State's going to have it on both sides of the ball this year. And that's just a really tough matchup for Northwestern. So they get blown out there. Then they play Michigan on the 23rd. Again, a very, very good team. Northwestern, kind of like Iowa, may not score much in this game. Plus, you're playing on the road. But Michigan, in my opinion, is not going to have the offense that Ohio State is. They're not going to win this game by 40, but they might win it by 30. And so, again, you've got very tough games here back-to-back. I don't see them being competitive in those two. The only two games, though, that I'm going to say Northwestern can't win. I think they can win every other game on the schedule. I don't think they will, but I think they'll at least have a chance. They'll be competitive in the rest of these games. And they'll finish things up with Illinois on November 30th. This should be a pretty good game. I could be way off on Illinois. I just look at this roster and look at this team, and I just don't think they're going to be very good. I've said this before, I think they're going to probably be the worst team in the Big Ten. They just have no weapons on offense. Yes, Luke Altmaier is back at quarterback, but he's got to throw the ball to someone. They've got to have some running backs step up. They've got some decent ones, but nobody that's going to be an all-conference type back. Offensive line, maybe it has gone a little bit down over the last couple of years. I don't think their defense is going to be great. So yeah, Northwestern, better team. They win this game, and they finish 6-6. So I've got them getting to a bowl game. It's going to be tough. Again, I think that 5.5 win total is very fair. You could see them losing to Maryland here. Maybe even see them losing to Purdue on the road. But they could maybe beat Indiana or pull off a big upset somewhere along the way. And so I do think they get to a 6-6. Your thoughts on this team, your predictions, let me know down in the comments below.